Every major event in world history, every major figure in world history appears to be encoded in the Bible. Imagine a text so complex that within its age-old pages, it contains an intricate unseen design of hidden codes and secrets. These secrets are not just about events of the distant past, but also about the present, the future, and, astonishingly, about our individual lives. This isn't the plot of a cryptic thriller novel, but a theory surrounding one of the world's most widely read books, the Bible. Proponents of the Bible code theory proposed that encoded within the Bible's original Hebrew texts lie detailed messages and prophecies that can be unlocked through a particular decoding method. But could it be true? Could the ancient texts really hold detailed prophecies of historical events? Do they whisper the trajectories of our personal lives, our births and our deaths? We'll try to find out together in the new episode of Hidden Origins. Welcome, 4,000s of years. Profound thinkers, spiritual teachers, and visionaries have cherished a unique enigmatic document that is believed to hold the outcomes of all potential decisions we could ever make in our lives. In September 1994, Yitzhak Rabin, the then Prime Minister of Israel, was delivered a creepy message warning him of a threat to his life. The warning originated from an unexpected source. It claimed to be based on a hidden code within the Bible. The cautionary message, however, was dismissed. A year later, the Prime Minister met a tragic end. He was assassinated. The shocking fact is that the secret code within the Bible had only forecasted Rabin's assassination, but also precisely indicated the date and even the name of the assassin. It turns out that the encoded within the ancient text of the Bible written millennia ago forecasts of every significant global event, encompassing even the alarming events that are yet to happen. This is now known as the Bible Code. So what exactly is the Bible Code? An 18th century scholar known as the Genius of Vilna said, "The rule is that all that was, all that is, and all that will be, until the end of time, is included in the Torah, from the first word to the last." But how it is possible that such events can be predicted thousands of years ago? The three primary religions that worship the God of Abraham, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, encompass more than half of the global population, an approximate total of over 4 billion people. Since their inception, followers have sought to extract meaning and answers from their respective religious texts. This has typically been done through the interpretation of symbolism and allegory. However, a new wave of computer scientists and mathematicians have discovered concrete information encoded in the Old Testament. The Old Testament, written about 3,000 years ago, originates from the 24 books of the Hebrew Bible. Despite being one of the most ancient texts, its contents have remained consistent over millennia. When scribes replicated the Old Testament, even a single mistake necessitated the burial of the entire transcript. But why was such precision necessary? The conventional belief is that any alteration of God's words would be regarded as blasphemy. Yet there might be a more technical, rational, that hidden within the texts are cryptic messages from God or another entity. In the late 13th century, Rabbi Bahaya ben Asher unveiled a code concealed within the book of Genesis. The method he used was simple. He selected 4 letters, then skipped 42 letters before selecting another 4, and so on. When these chosen letters were connected, they formed a new passage depicting the creation of the moon. This string of letters also stated that the lunar month precisely spanned 29.53 days. This was a remarkable revelation considering the exact length of the lunar month wasn't calculated until 1996 by none other than NASA. But how was it possible? The concept of equidistant letter sequence, or ELSE, also known as a skip code, was reintroduced in the 1940s by Rabbi H.M.D. Weissmandl. Resurrected Rabbi ben Asher's work showing that by selecting a letter or a group of letters, skipping a specific number of letters and repeating this process, new words could be formed. This process was initially arduous and time-consuming, but the advent of computers simplified the process exponentially. Later on, computer programs improved on the skip code technique by implementing more complex search parameters. They took the letters discovered via the skip codes and formed long strings of text, which could then be divided into lines of varying lengths. This allowed new messages to be discovered by searching the text horizontally, vertically and diagonally, much like a word search puzzle. In 1985, mathematicians Elijah Rips, Doron Whitsum, and Joe Frozenberg leveraged this technique in a series of tests named the Great Rabbits Experiment. They compiled a list of 34 famous rabbits, encyclopedia of great men in Israel, and input these names into their program to decipher if they were encoded in the Bible. This astonishing discovery was that all these names, despite the fact that these men lived hundreds or even thousands of years after the Bible was written, were encoded within the Bible. They input the names of renowned rabbis into their computer program, which was then instructed to sift through various skip codes and grid sites in search of these names. Once a match was identified, the program searched horizontally, vertically and diagonally for dates that intersected with the names, which were then cross-referenced with the known birth and death dates of each rabbi. The results of this experiment were shocking. Not only were all the names of the rabbis found encoded within the Bible, but their birth and death dates were also discovered intersecting the names. In the end, they found the names of a total of 166 men encoded in the Bible, a phenomenon that occurred thousands of years before any of these men were born. Dr. Rips estimated the odds of this happening by chance at around 1 in 10 million. The undeniable conclusion was that the Torah codes were a real phenomenon, not merely coincidental. The trio published the results of their groundbreaking study in the peer-reviewed journal Statistical Science. The study stirred controversy, with several experts trying to find an error, yet no one could refute their findings. But could this information be random? Could it be encoded in other documents? They tested the Bible code in several other books, including Webster's Dictionary, huge novels like the book War and Peace, the book Moby Dick, and all of these other texts. The codes do not work the way they do in the Torah. The intrigue deepened when this theory was retested in a rigorous 440-hour experiment in 1997. Unlike the original study conducted by mathematicians, this time the research was led by a former senior cryptologic mathematician for the US agency, Harold Gans. Motivated to debunk the Bible code, Gans created his own computer program. However, the results surprised him. His program not only identified the names of the rabbits and their birth and death dates within the Bible, but it also pinpointed their places of birth and death. In his resulting paper, Gans concluded that the findings were statistically more than significant. These weren't accidental discoveries. There were indeed a code embedded within the Torah, specifically in the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, a code uniquely present nowhere else. In a similar way, in 1990, Dr. Rips found himself intrigued by a novel idea. His previous research had successfully identified information about rabbits who had lived centuries prior. Still, he started to wonder, could the Bible hold encoded information about people who were still alive as of 1990? During the early 90s, Saddam Hussein was an internationally recognized figure. Intrigued, Dr. Rips decided to enter the Iraq leader's name into his program, curious to see if he could be located within the encoded patterns of the Bible. Remarkably, Hussein's name emerged from the code. Even more astonishingly, the code predicted that he would instigate an attack on Israel within the span of 3 weeks. As foreseen by the Bible code, Hussein did indeed initiate an attack. The program revealed more fascinating connections. For example, when the encoded sequence spelling President Kennedy was examined, the succeeding letters in the same skip sequence revealed the words "to die," with Dallas encrypted in the vicinity. Similarly, when Shakespeare was searched for, the following words in the equal distance sequence read, "will present place on stage," within the names Hamlet and Macbeth encrypted in the same segment. In 1992, An American investigative journalist named Michael Drasnin was working on a story about conflict in the Middle East. While in Israel, he came across Dr. Ripp's research. Drasnin, who was a non-believer, was initially skeptical about the notion of divinely encrypted messages within the Bible. However, the story intrigued him enough to explore further. His initial meeting with Dr. Rips, scheduled for just an hour, ended up extending as Drasnin was drawn into the fascinating world of the Bible code. Over the next few years, Drasnin collaborated with Dr. Rips to decode over 1,000 historical events concealed in the Old Testament. For example, in the book of Genesis, where God instructs Abraham to look now toward heaven and count the stars, the encoded passage revealed the date July 20, 1969, and the words like spaceship and Apollo 11. Encoded phrases such as economic crisis, depression, stocks, and the year 1922 were found to intersect. The word Oklahoma was found intersecting with Mora, the building targeted in the Oklahoma City bombing, along with the phrase his name was Timothy. In May 1994, the Schumacher-Levy comet was a hot topic in news outlets worldwide. The scientific community was speculating about its potential collision with Jupiter. Intrigued by this, Drasnin ran a search in the Bible code. Remarkably, he discovered the exact term Schumacher-Levy intersected with Wilpound Jupiter. Moreover, the precise date of the impact, July 16, 1994, crossed this phrase. The same year, Drasnin turned his attention to Yitzhak Rabin, Israel's prime minister. Again, the code yielded intriguing results. Rabin's name appeared intersected by the ominous phrase "assassin will assassinate." The Hebrew date 5756 crossed the phrase, a date looming just months away. In Hebrew, numbers can also signify words. In this context, 5756 could be translated as, "Will you change it?" Drasnin interpreted this as a possible indication that he could intervene to prevent the prophecy from being fulfilled. Determined to do his part, he sent a warning to the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, Rabin dismissed the warning, and tragically, a year later, he was assassinated, just as the Bible code had indicated. The coded information in the Torah seems to adhere to the rule conceptualized by mathematician Werner Heisenberg in his uncertainty principle. This principle was then summarized by a renowned physicist, Stephen Hawking, who stated, "Quantum mechanics does not predict a single definite result for an observation. Instead, it predicts a number of different possible outcomes and tells us how likely each of these outcomes is. It seems this is how the Bible codes operates. It doesn't necessarily predict a fixed future, but when asked a specific question, it reveals a range of potential outcomes. There's growing suspicion that this phenomenon could be a form of a quantum code. But the thing is that this is only possible with the Torah. But why exactly with it and not with any other book? The Torah consists of the initial 5 books of the Hebrew Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. They're also the first 5 books of the Old Testament in the Christian Bible. Interestingly, there is something distinct that sets these initial 5 books apart. For example, their origin is largely shrouded in mystery, with much of what we know is based on legend, historical records, and speculation. Tradition holds that these 5 books, collectively referred to as the Torah, were received as unified documents in Mount Sinai in Egypt. In the original versions of the Torah, the alphabet primarily used is Hebrew. Intriguingly, every letter of the Hebrew alphabet has been associated with a particular number, the origin of which remains mysterious. When dealing with the Bible code, these Hebrew letters are transformed into their corresponding numeric values, replacing the visual perception of letters on a page with a series of numbers. The process entails stripping away all spaces and punctuation reminiscent of the believed original presentation of the Torah when it was delivered to Earth roughly 3,000 years ago. This leaves us with uninterpreted sequence of numbers, forming an array or a matrix comprising exactly 3,004,805 numbers that can be propped and curated in different ways by a computer. This letter matrix is known as dynamic matrix, and it's able to adjust based on the queries it's subjected to. Initially, it begins with 64 rows, each containing 4,772 numbers. However, as we start curing this matrix, its rows and columns can be dynamically realigned to suit the query. The way this matrix is approached aligns with the principles outlined in the scientific paper, primarily using else searches, or what is more casually known as skip codes, which we mentioned earlier in this video. These skip codes entail starting with a specific letter within the Torah and counting a certain number of letters to find the next significant letter in the sequence. Consider, for example, a skip code of 50 applied to the book of Genesis, which start with the first Hebrew letter of Genesis. Bear in mind this code only works with Hebrew letters, not translations, and count 50 letters or numbers considering our conversation forward. Doing so leads to the letter T, followed by O, R, H, when skipping 50 more letters each time with vowels omitted in Hebrew. These letters form the word Torah. This is a simple example of how these skip codes function, according to Greg Braden, a best-selling author and researcher in the fields of spirituality and human potential. The beauty of understanding these Torah codes lies in the insight they offer into the tapestry of possibilities within our existence, as dictated by the divine matrix. We, as part of this integrate weave of time, are subject to its rules and laws until we come to understand them. Our biology even allows us to hack time, enabling us to expedite certain processes such as healing or fastening peace. Unlocking these mysteries enables us to comprehend and tell a new human story, one that speaks of our relationship with the underlying matrix of reality. Whether it's major world events or the miniature of daily life, everything we experience is encompassed within the possibilities already encoded into this ancient temporal map, the Bible Code. So in exploring this incredible concept of the Bible Code, we unravel a fascinating layer of complexity within our universe. We find that reality, time, and even our personal destinies can be found in ways that challenge traditional perspectives. The code hidden in ancient texts stirs our curiosity and urges us to seek understanding of this intricate matrix. Our ability to interpret and interact with this coded information may well determine our future trajectory as individuals and as species. We bow before you and thank you for watching another episode of Hidden Origins. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.